I loved calling alums. I loved, hearing their stories and then being able to connect that back to ways for them to make an impact on campus. There's so many different ways to do that, which is what I love about higher education, is there's so many different facets to it. If you want to do something about food insecurity, there's the food pantry on campus. If you want to do something with maybe some students that don't have access to things, you can start a scholarship. There's so many different ways to really make an impact. And for me to have that opportunity to listen to someone's story and then be able to find a way for them to connect it back for something that they're able to make a difference in, it was just something that I really liked. And it was really great to make an impact in Philly, but then to now be able to take everything that I've been doing for the last 10 years and come back home and be able to make that impact in the community that raised me, that's something that's really important to me.
It still hits, I don't miss it. It's go, 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 like a go-go flow. And I'm almost done, and I told you so. When I throw these flows like it's Rochambeau, and I ain't too close to the Joe Smo goes. And I'm on my grind, that is all the time. I do not do breaks, that's right, I stay in dry. And look, I'm back with a little bit of that, a little more cash than it came in with. Ready, that cat is out that bag, but I still ask you, the boy got skills. I don't need her, I don't need him, I don't need help with me, I got this. I can sing songs, I can spit raps, and I can do both, even do this, word.
This episode is brought to you by Anthracite Pallet Solutions. Need reliable, durable pallets to keep your business moving? At Anthracite Pallet Solutions, we specialize in new and used 48x40 wooden pallets. Whether you're shipping, storing, or stacking, we offer high-quality pallets that keep your operations running smoothly. With our own fleet of trucks and trailers, we deliver on time, every time. And if warehouse space is a concern, our drop trailer services have you covered. From custom orders to large-scale deliveries, we're here to meet your every need with top-notch customer service and unbeatable prices. We're currently shipping within 2 hours of Scranton, Pennsylvania, including Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and Maryland. Call us today at 570-606-9206 or inquire online at anthracitepallet.com and let us handle your pallet solutions. Anthracite Pallet Solutions, built to last, designed to move. This episode is brought to you by Sweat Tent, the pioneers of the portable wood-burning sauna. Did you know that using the sauna 3 to 4 times per week could reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease by up to 50% and make you 60% less likely to experience Alzheimer's disease? That's why I've been a big fan of the sauna for years. But having to go to a crowded gym to do it isn't ideal. And all the at-home options are bulky and expensive. That's why I only use the Sweat Tent for my sauna needs. It's the most storable and affordable wood-burning sauna on the market. It not only takes minutes to set up, but it can reach 200 degrees Fahrenheit in 30 minutes or less. So whether you're enjoying it yourself in your backyard, with friends, or in need of a reliable sauna on the go, Sweat Tent is your best choice for the most portable, storable, and enjoyable outdoor sauna experience. All On the Stacks listeners will receive $100 off when you use code OTS. Visit sweattent.com today to get $100 off your purchase with code OTS at checkout. Again, that's sweattent.com to get $100 off with code OTS. Sweat Tent, helping you fire up your home wellness routine. This episode is brought to you by FitAF. If you haven't already noticed, I live and breathe entrepreneurship. Whether it's launching new ventures, attending pitch meetings, or mentoring budding entrepreneurs, my schedule is jam-packed. And that's where FitAF steps in. Their menu changes weekly, offering a variety of chef-inspired meals designed by nutrition experts using only the best quality ingredients, keeping me fueled and focused. Their vast selection of meals has you covered for all types of dietary restrictions and diet plans, including keto, paleo, vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, and more. As an On the Stacks listener, enjoy our exclusive offer. Get 20% off your first order of 7 meals or more when you use code OTS at checkout at fitafnutrition.com. Again, that's code OTS for 20% off your first order of 7 meals or more at fitafnutrition.com. Healthy meals and seamless nutrition, keeping entrepreneurs at the top of their game. I used to actually carry this with me. Okay. But this morning, I know obviously, this was planned. And when there was a drawer I opened in my desk at home today, and it just happened to be sitting right there on my desk. And it was only appropriate for today because we're both Penn Staters.
Yeah.
So I still have.
I love that.
My Penn State ID. I hope everyone can see this. If it's
I should have brought mine with me.
Look how embarrassing. Look how embarrassing. Look at me. I look like I'm like 12 years old. Look at this. Take a look at it. Do you still have yours?
I do.
Do you carry it with you still?
So working in higher ed, is that a Hollister polo?
Oh God, yeah. Of course it is.
That's what I was immediately looking for.
Yeah, and thanks for noticing.
It's iconic.
Too.
No, well, I was specifically looking for it.
Yeah.
Working in higher ed, I like to keep all of my IDs because I started working in higher education as soon as I graduated. So I still had my Penn State ID, and I've kept all of my IDs since.
Okay.
And I've actually seen people put together their different IDs or business cards of all the schools they've been at in like a frame.
Okay.
Kind of like an honor of all the higher education places they've worked at. And that's kind of something like a goal of mine. I want to...
all the badge of honor.
All the places that I've gotten to be at.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I literally like used to carry this like in my wallet, but then eventually like not long, it actually wasn't too long ago, within the last couple years, maybe I
really
just I was carrying it up and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
you
it's just
didn't want to graduate.
I still don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things. I don't know. It's just us crazy Penn Staters.
Yeah. But it's fun being an alum.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, I saw this today. I'm like, oh my God, like what a blast from the past. Very fitting, because obviously we both went to Penn State, so I thought you'd get a good kick out of that.
Yeah, no, I loved. I had the exact same one.
Yeah, like I don't know, like what, like what I thought, how I thought this would help me by still carrying this, But,
I'm probably also wearing a Hollister polo in my photo.
I mean, I would hope you were. Yeah. I was really hoping you had yours with you today too, so I could laugh at your Hollister polo as well. But
I'll have to dig that up. I'm fairly certain I know exactly where it is.
Do you?
I'm definitely still in possession of it.
Yeah. I wonder how many other Penn Staters still carry it with them.
That's a really good question.
I bet you a lot do.
Yeah.
Do you think?
I kind of want to... So it's funny. I'm on a couple of different Penn State alumni boards. I have access to the Penn State Philly social media accounts. Shout out. So now I kind of want to throw that up there of throw your photos up.
We need to know. I think, you should start some type of like social media campaign with everyone's old Penn State IDs. And because we need to see them. They're iconic.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen the Alumni Association ask that on social media, but I definitely feel like they should.
Yeah, they for sure should. So that's your homework assignment.
Got it. I'm on
today,
it. Everyone will be seeing it probably in the next week or two.
Good.
Keep an eye out.
I'm assuming they still do them, right? Like,
yeah, I haven't. Now that you said, I haven't seen one in a little bit. It's not like the students just kind of bring them out whenever.
Right. Yeah.
But I would assume that doesn't look outdated to me, other than the photo in it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I feel like it probably looks
still
similar.
Like that same template?
I
like
would
it's
be
almost
curious.
Yeah. Well, I wonder like if it has changed, like if there's anything different like from what they are. Like,
why would you change it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously the logo is the logo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know, but there it is. This is it, and I'm not getting rid of it.
Yeah.
So
I wonder how many people have their alma mater's student ID.
Yeah, even not even just Penn State.
Yeah,
like, I wonder how many. Yeah, so if anyone's listening and wants to admit that they still carry, please drop a comment or something, send a DM, whatever you need to do, even if you're too embarrassed to comment. Just let us know. We need to know.
And why?
Yeah, and
is
why?
Is it the nostalgia? Is it you just like you don't empty out your wallet ever? Is it the same wallet you've had?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Did you change yours from wallet to wallet?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
But I also haven't had many wallets probably since then. If I had to guess.
Yeah.
I'm probably only on like my third or fourth one since college. And I graduated, oh boy, this is so 2011.
Let's
so
do
it's
some
been
math.
Yeah, I'm real bad at math. So was that 14 years ago?
Okay.
So every like few years, I guess maybe I probably changed wallets. And I just changed wallets like last year, like within the last so it's been like within the last several months. Mm-hmm. So that's probably why.
It came out.
Actually, it came out then.
Okay.
Because the new one, I was like, all right, I said too many things.
Yeah.
It was just too bulky. So I was just like, I unfortunately had to, sacrifice, that. But like
one thing had to come out.
But it's in the drawer that I open almost every day. Yeah. So it's like, oh, there it is. I still get to like.
It took almost 15 years, but.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I just can't let go of the past.
That's
apparently.
Fair. I mean, we're Penn State alums. That's kind of what we do.
I know. Yeah. Right. Yes. And yeah, I'm actually not even. I was going to apologize, but I'm not going to apologize for anyone that's listening that is going to be sick of us hearing us talk about Penn State. Right? It's just the way it goes, And I know because we talked just briefly a couple times before it came on, but prior to this we didn't really know each other, and it's just one of those things when the Penn State connection. I feel like you could be total strangers. You could be anywhere in the world.
Literally.
And I know any Penn Stater will understand this. Never, everyone's probably like grinning right now as I am. But you run into somebody, and even if they're just wearing a hat or a T-shirt, you don't even have to go to school there. I feel like, but if you did go to school there, it's even better. The connection's even better. But that you have that Penn State connection, and you just instantly can just become friends or just make conversation with somebody if you know that you have that commonality. And it's so true. I mean, like anywhere that I've ever gone, traveling wise, anywhere, like literally anywhere, anytime I would see somebody, like I would not all the time, but like sometimes depending where I would just be like, oh, hey, Penn State, yeah, whatever. And then like all of a sudden you start strike up a conversation, whether it's in an elevator or whatever it is. And actually, I think, I know you already know this story, but that's how I met Paul Clifford.
Yeah, I love Paul.
Former CEO of the Alumni Association. I met him at a hotel in Philly. Like he was there for an alumni event. And my wife and I were there. Actually, there was it was the Sixers draft party. It was actually that day. So we were at the Sixers draft party, and then this was right after we were back at the hotel, and right before we were going up to our room, we're just going through like the hotel bar area. We sat down, and here comes Paul walking up to the the bar area, and he had a bow tie, and of course it was a Penn State bow tie. So I mean, of course, I had to be like, oh, nice Penn State bow tie.
Yeah.
It's not often you see somebody wearing a bow tie to begin with, number one. But then a Penn State bow tie, I was like, I gotta ask him about this Penn State bow tie. No clue who he was. Yeah. And just made conversation. Well, the rest is history. I told you the story. He helped me with my engagement and everything at the Rose Bowl. But yeah, that's just, again, it's just the power of the Penn State network. It's crazy.
Yeah, Paul always loves to say, where would you rather be than in a room full of Penn Staters? That's how he would always start any type of event when we'd have him speaking. That's always his go-to. And it's so true, too. It's funny, as someone who is engaged a lot in the Penn State community as an alumnus, I know to look out for different things. So, for example, I went on a short little road trip with a friend. We went to Dallas for New Year's Eve, and she was really working on getting her 50 states, which has now become something that I have been working on. But so we had to do a little road trip up to Kansas because she needed to mark off Oklahoma and Kansas. And it was the day of, I think it was either 16 or 17 whenever we were in the Rose Bowl. And I said, okay, I'll drive up here with you, but we have to stop in Oklahoma City because there's an Oklahoma City alumni chapter. And I said, they'll be having a watch party. So I said, we have to get there in time for the game and we can watch the watch party. And she is from like Minnesota, like a small state school, has no idea what any of this means. And she and I and about 20 other Penn Staters sat there and watched the Rose Bowl game in Oklahoma City.
So that was the Rose Bowl I got. That was what I got.
Oh,
I got engaged at.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. This is crazy. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, well, sorry, go ahead. Totally cut you off there, yeah.
No, it's just funny because no matter where you are, you can always find Penn Staters anywhere, anywhere and everywhere. And it's just a nice, like, security thing that that you have someone that you can kind of go to for anything.
Yeah, and just hang out and just, again, you just instantly become friends. It's like just that connection. But in some unfortunate news, we briefly just started talking right before we started recording here was, the news recently just came out that they might be closing some of the Commonwealth campuses, and was it Wilkes-Barre, Hazleton, and Scranton? Was it just those three?
So they're looking at all of them right now.
All of them?
They're not looking at closing all of them. They're identifying all of them. I think they named either 5 or 7 that are definitely going to be staying. I know Abington's one of them. I want to say Brandywine and a couple of others that they've said are definitively staying open. And then all of the other ones, they said that they're going to be assessing. So none of them up here are definitive yet. I think at minimum, they're going to absolutely have to keep at least one. But I don't know. It's hard. It's one of those things, like, I get it. The face of higher education is changing.
Yeah. So, like, again, I know you probably know more than me because I actually didn't, like, read the news about it. I meant to, but I just got totally sidetracked. So, like, what was it? I mean, probably lack of enrollment, I would imagine.
Yeah,
is
that's a big piece of it. And that's something across higher ed in general right now that a lot of schools are facing. That's where you see, specifically in this area, but across the country, there are a lot of schools that are struggling enrollment wise. So there's basically they're calling it the cliff. There are less 18-year-olds right now than there were 10, 20, 30 years ago. So the amount of students that you're then recruiting are decreasing. So it's interesting. That's not so much in this area that we have that happening, but it's absolutely something for a lot of schools when they're recruiting throughout the country that then is becoming a problem. So where we had more students, specifically in the Commonwealth too, coming to all of these different Commonwealth campuses, I think they have seen declining enrollment over the last couple of years. So it's one of those unfortunate things. I understand it. And like looking at the math, I get it. But as someone who started at a Commonwealth campus and, spent time at multiple Commonwealth campuses, I really feel like it's something that losing that is also going to be losing an aspect of Penn State.
Yeah, I agree. And again, because we don't know each other like that well, we also, we made this Penn State connection a little while back together, and I think we both failed to talk about like where we actually went.
Yeah.
And we discovered right before we came on that we both actually started at Penn State Hazleton, which I was like, I was embarrassed at first that like I didn't know that you did, and I was just like, oh no, I don't think we ever talked about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, yeah. So yeah, that's crazy. I mean, like I said, like we both obviously have connections, to the Commonwealth campuses, and yeah, it's gonna be a shame if if they decide, obviously, like you said, I think it's kind of inevitable. I think some are going to close, but yeah, what the heck are they going to do with them?
I know, and they're so beautiful. I love the Wilkes-Barre campus. It's so interesting because there was a family that was in this area. They lived part-time in New York City, and they live part-time out here. They're actually related to the family that started Hillside Farms.
Okay.
And so they built the mansion that is at Penn State Wilkes-Barre. They built a couple of other properties, too. They had a property that they donated to Wilkes, ended up burning down, so it's not a current building on Wilkes' campus. But they owned a couple of things in the area, and they built this gorgeous, stunning mansion, which is the main building at Penn State Wilkes-Barre. And I love being there. I think it's amazing to look at. The history is amazing. I mean, it's like that with a lot of the campuses. Penn State Hazleton was the same way. It used to be a farm as well. Actually, Penn State Penn State Altoona used to be an amusement park.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it used to have, like, I remember when I was there for an internship program, and they were talking about how the massive big parking lot used to be, and don't quote me on this because I don't remember the exact fact, it's been almost 10 years now, but it used to be like the largest, some type of amusement park pool or something like that. So each of these campuses too have their own unique history, and how they got to even be a part of Penn State was really interesting as well.
Yeah, they definitely, like you said, like I know a little bit of the history too of some of them, but obviously not all of them.
Yeah,
there's a lot. I think there's just over 20. But yeah, I'm sure that just like the few that we know that a little bit of the history of, I'm sure, again, around the state, a lot of the other ones, I'm sure, probably have some type of similar stories and history, whether it's somebody, locally or regionally in that area, that community that, again, probably dates back like, a family that probably has been around for generations, like literally probably like 8 generation type, you could, go back and find like, what was a family farm or like just like an old something, and I'm always fascinated by that, and how they've just been able to preserve the land and just build like such beautiful, whether it was already, structures on, the property or not, whether they refurbished or built new or whatever. But either way, I mean, as you said, like the campuses, like they're beautiful, like they really are. And it brings me back. I think the only time I really spent at Penn State Wilkes-Barre was, one of the summers in between. I took a Spanish summer course at Penn State Wilkes-Barre, probably because I probably would have flunked out if I took it somewhere else. So, plus, I think it's
you made the right decision.
I definitely did. Yeah. My sister and I actually took it together. She was 2 years older than me. Yeah, and we coincidentally ended up both being the same major. So we really had to actually take all the same courses. Yeah. We both struggled with our Spanish. So I think we kind of helped each other out there and took that course together. But yeah, I think that was really the only time I really spent at Penn State Wilkes-Barre. Besides maybe going there for some like other events or things like that. But
that was my first Penn State campus I ever set foot on, because I actually went there for a veterinarian camp, I think, when I was like 12. So my grandfather would pick my friend and I up, and he would drive us there. I don't remember how often it was, but I remember being in the mansion, and we would like take classes and go out and like be out in the outdoors surrounding the area. So that was like my first, because I didn't grow up in a Penn State family. I grew up in a Wilkes-Barre, East End, Notre Dame household, which, hey, that made like the last couple football games fun.
It did.
And hockey. I was out at the Notre Dame Penn State hockey game in Chicago on January 3rd, which was an experience. It was cold, but it was a lot of fun. So that was my first time really being on a Penn State campus and really getting to know it. But it's so interesting, like the history. Like Penn State Wilkes-Barre actually started in Coughlin, so it was in Wilkes-Barre. It was in downtown.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
Fun fact.
Wow.
Fun fact, I was a phone-a-thon caller, so I was that student who needed to learn all the facts about Penn State. And actually, the Abington campus used to be an all-girls school, and Amelia Earhart went there.
No way.
Not when it was Penn State, but technically she's kind of like a Penn State alum.
Wow. You know way more than I do, actually. Well, yeah, that's really interesting. Yes, I can't even imagine the stories of all the other ones.
Yeah.
I mean, just that little bit that you share right now, like imagine the stories that could come out of all the others.
Yeah.
Plus the University Park campus. I mean, it's So also from what I understand, this is also your first podcast.
It is.
So I'm glad this is your first experience. Hopefully it's a good one so far.
Yeah,
Hopefully I
definitely.
I didn't scare you yet.
No, of course.
You're still here, so I mean that's a good sign. But yeah, I'm glad to have you here, and
Thank you.
It reminded me too. Obviously, I know you spent some time in Philly. I just got to share this crazy. This is unbelievable because actually it ties in with how you just said about Penn State, Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah.
So Shavertown ties in. This is unbelievable. You're never gonna believe this. Okay. All right.
I have no idea where this is going.
Okay.
Here we go. I'm ready.
Totally like. It doesn't really have anything to do with Penn State, but just the Shavertown part.
Yeah.
Okay. So just follow me through here.
Okay. We're going on a journey.
Yeah, we are. This is a journey. When I tell a story, it's either really good or bad because it's you're either gonna follow along or you're gonna be like, what is he talking about? So I'm just prefacing everyone. All right. So you might want to either turn off right now or keep watching. I'm not sure. So I do most of the episodes I do are in person, obviously, right? But I used to be like totally against like the virtual ones. I think probably because I've spent way more money than I'd like to even admit on investing in the in-person studios, and clearly where we're at here now. So I've just been kind of always against the virtual one, but not just because of that. I just think obviously in person there's just it's a different vibe. It is. It really is. And you don't even had to have ever been on a podcast before to even know that. Just if you've ever had a conversation with anybody, you just know the difference of an in-person versus a virtual thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, so recently I within the last year, I'll say I've become more open to doing more virtual ones, and I do know too, obviously now with the with some of the success I've had with the show, I probably could pull a lot bigger name guests from out of the area if I really wanted to. But again, I know I would have to do them virtually.
Right.
But again, for me, me doing this, it was never like, oh, I'm going to try to get famous people. I mean, that's cool. But, at the end of the day, I still just, it's just, we're just all regular people,
You're a storyteller.
Yeah. I don't need to have all famous people on. Right. So anyway, like I said, I've just become more open to doing virtual ones, and I recently switched. There's a few different companies out there that they're podcast specific platforms.
Okay.
Like think of it like Zoom, but they're made specifically for podcasting. There's one called StreamYard, and then there's Riverside, and there's probably a couple others I forget. So anyway, I used to use StreamYard up until somewhat recently. They jacked the price up through the roof.
Like everything these days.
Yeah, right. Like everything. And then so I decided I want to switch. Plus, I was never really that crazy about StreamYard. And I was like, I always knew that Riverside one. I think I signed up for an account a while back. Might have tried it, but just never really, again, because I didn't really use it that much. So I never really was like, oh, this is going to be good, right? So anyway, I recently switched to this Riverside. So I switched to Riverside and actually just recorded my first episode on it virtually, just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And just the other day, literally with a few days ago, I got a message on Facebook from a random person. It was a personal account.
Okay.
Messaging me, but we weren't friends.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it went to that other spam folder. They were request folder, whatever the hell it is.
That gets lost in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get this message from this woman, and she claims that she works for Riverside, which is the one I just switched to. And I looked at it and I was just like, this has to be fake. There's no way this person's real, right?
Just how many spam ones do you get all the time?
I probably get 10 a day.
Yeah.
People trying to sell me stuff, people trying to be on the show, whatever.
Bots.
Yeah, just everything, right? Just you name it.
It's telling you that Facebook needs your verification, otherwise it's closing down your account.
I get at least 2 of those a day, right? So anyway, I get this message, and again, she said she worked for Riverside. I also almost didn't believe it at first because it was her sort of personal Facebook, and I'm thinking to myself,
you think you'd use LinkedIn or something?
Yeah, or whatever, something. I mean, most people don't really wouldn't do that, and I wasn't I didn't I don't mind engaging good, I don't care what platform it is, but anyway, so it turns out she was 100% totally legit. Okay, so but anyway. she reached out and said, hey, Bill, like, you know, I see obviously you're in the podcast industry. And the reason that she, I think, found me is because I'm part of like some, there's like a few groups on Facebook that are like, you know, geared towards like networking in the podcast industry. You know, whether you're looking for guests, you know, or not, or just looking to learn, network, whatever. So she probably found me in some, because I'm active in some of those. And so we got to, you know, she messaged me and said, hey, I see you're doing this. She goes, we're looking to partner with some podcasters, and we identified you as a good fit, as somebody that we might want to partner with and do some collaborations, et cetera, and so on. I'm like, oh, cool. You know, I'm like, actually, I just switched to her side. She's like, oh, cool. Let's hop on a call. So we hop on a call, like, you know, actually just again, a couple of days ago. And so now, again, I clicked on her Facebook page when she first messaged me, and I didn't look too far into who she was, other than like I did notice that she was in some other country. Like I didn't even I at the time, because
trying to figure out how this is getting back to Shaver Town.
It is. I know, right? This is what I mean. My stories are just really too long and drawn out. We might have to like snip a lot of this to speed it up, time lapse it or something, right? I did notice that she was from another country.
Yeah.
And again, still didn't really think anything of it. So we're on the call, and I think I might have just said, like, I was like, oh, by the way, like, where are you? Because I knew there was a time zone difference, whatever, and I didn't know what time it was and where she was. But I was like, hey, like, I know you're not in the U.S., right? But she didn't look foreign.
Yeah.
Okay? So I think you kind of know where this is going.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, well, where are you? And she said, Israel. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like, you know, and before I even said like, well, what brought you to Israel?
Yeah.
She immediately just like volunteered. So, she said my I think it was her wife's job or something. She said like my wife, I don't even know if she said what she did, but she said, oh, my wife had a job opportunity, and like we had to decide, like one of us, you know, we had to go. So she's like, I was obviously going with her, right?
Yeah.
So they moved to Israel for her wife's job. And she goes, but I'm originally from Philly. Okay, so all right, here we go.
We're slowly getting back.
We're getting back. Right? She goes, so, and I don't even think she knew where I was.
Oh, okay.
She didn't even look that far into me. She just identified me as a podcast person, and a good fit for whatever they were looking to do. Okay, and again, this meeting, we're just discovering, we're learning about each other. Right? And, okay. I'm like, oh, really, Philly? I'm like, oh my God, no way. I said, I'm only 2 hours from there. And she's like, oh, really? I said, I don't know. You probably wouldn't know the name. I said, but Wilkes-Barre. You know, I always say, I'm like, oh, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. And she goes, oh, no way. She goes, my mom grew up in Shaver Town.
Oh,
there it is. There it is, people. I'm sorry it took so long to get to it. She goes, my mom grew up in Shaver Town. I'm like, I literally like this. I'm like, stop. I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, like, how does this even happen? Right? Like
the Valley.
Like 24 hours before this, I get this random message from her, her name is Kendall. Get this random message, and I'm like, and again, I just switched to this Riverside, literally a week before she messaged me.
Timing is weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
But good, you know, and because it really was good timing. And but yeah, she's like, oh my God, yeah, my mom grew up in Shaver Town. So now her mom must have relocated to Philly or outside of Philly, like again, probably either before she was born or like she didn't grow up, you know, the woman I met with, Kendall, didn't grow up here in Shaver Town, but obviously her mom did. And I was like, you know, so, and I'm doing the Zoom call like here. Well, actually it wasn't a Zoom call. We were actually doing it on Riverside. So sorry about that, Kendall, if you're watching. So I'm sitting here, and, you know, she's like, is this your studio? I'm like, oh yeah, actually see the stuff behind me. I'm like, oh, this is my studio. She's like, oh, cool. And I said, yeah, I said, the town that my studio is actually is called Kingston. She goes, oh yeah, I know Kingston. I'm like, oh, come on, stop. And she goes, yeah. She goes, all my mom's friends. She goes, whenever my mom would talk about her friends from home, frequently would say, oh yeah, so and so from Kingston. And I'm like, oh my God, like what is like, how does this happen? You know,
it's
like
the Valley, I swear. Like, it's one of those things, like, everyone knows everyone from somewhere here at some point in time. I mean, also when you're throwing in the Philly aspect of it, I feel like all the Valley kids go to Philly for some period of time for the most part.
Yeah.
But I feel like the connections are just easy to make. Like, somebody knows someone at all points in time.
Like, isn't that crazy though? Yeah. I mean, like, what are the odds of that? Like, it's just really mind blowing to me. Like, out of all the podcasters in the world, right, that are like, you know, like, and I'm not a Joe Rogan, right, for example. So like, there's 99% of the podcasters in the world are like me or similar, you know, a little smaller, a little bigger, just like me. But like, you know, we're not the Joe Rogans of the world. There's millions of us.
Yeah.
And she found me.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like,
and I'm sure plenty of other people work at her company too.
Yeah.
And like, she was
they're
the
a big
one to reach out
company.
to you.
Yeah. Like they're big, they're a global company.
Yeah.
Like they're not, you know, I mean, I think they're small enough. They probably don't have like, you know, tens of thousands of employees, but they're still a big company. And the fact that she found me, like, Oh my God, it blew my mind. It just, again, because I know obviously you have a lot of connections to Philly too. Like it just it reminded me of that story, and you're like the only second person I've told my wife the story. But besides you, I think the only second person I told that story to, because it literally just happened this week. Like it just happened. I think like 2 or 3 days ago. So anyway, it just I had to share that. Now that I took up the entire allotment of time here telling that story. But for you, how did you get into like higher ed? Like how did that even happen for you doing what you do?
Well, of course, it's a Penn State story, so we're coming back.
I should have known this. Of
course. So my senior year at Penn State, I'd always liked volunteerism, fundraising, different aspects of that. You go to Penn State, obviously there's Thon. I grew up in a family of people who give back. My grandparents were really engaged in the local community here as well. So that was always something that I kind of had, but never really thought about it like as a career path. I was working in childcare for a while and I really liked it, but my whole family works in education. So I was like, I like education, but I don't know that I want to be an educator. And my senior year, I was working at TGI Fridays, RIP, no longer in State College
TGI
any longer.
Fridays.
Yeah, TGI Fridays. And I didn't want to work a football game my senior year because of course not, didn't want to miss one. And my boss couldn't guarantee that. So I said, okay, let's see what else is out here. And I had a friend suggest the phone-a-thon program, shout out Lion Line. And I said, you know what, like, let's try it. I vaguely remember my mom getting a phone call my freshman year and making a donation of something. But other than that, I had no idea like really what it was or what it meant. All I knew was that they didn't call on game days and that was enough for me.
Yeah, it's like, hire me. Yep, sign me up.
Exactly.
Where do I do the paperwork?
And it's super flexible too. Like you got to work whatever days of the week you wanted. It was all nighttime hours basically, except for the weekends. If you wanted to work like a Sunday or things like that. So for a college student, it was great because it was flexible. You got to do kind of whatever you wanted. And I just kind of loved it. I loved calling alumni, not so much parents. I feel like everyone has their like specific groups. Because I ran a phone-a-thon program also, and I had students that loved calling parents. They're like, we'd rather call parents than alums. I'm like, that's funny because I'm the opposite. But you have your groups that you like calling, and I loved calling.
You could just connect better with.
Yeah, I loved calling alums. I loved, hearing their stories and then being able to connect that back to ways for them to make an impact on campus. Whether, there's so many different ways to do that, which is what I love about higher education, is there's so many different facets to it. If you want to do something about food insecurity, there's the food pantry on campus. If you want to do something with maybe some students that don't have access to things, you can start a scholarship. There's so many different ways to really make an impact. And for me to have that opportunity to listen to someone's story and then be able to find a way for them to connect it back for something that they're able to make a difference in was just something that I really liked. And it just kind of set me on that path. Penn State actually has an internship program as well for development and alumni relations. So I just kind of fell into that. And from there, I've just been kind of doing it ever since. So this May will be 10 years since I graduated from Penn State, which is kind of crazy. So it'll be 10 years of me being a professional fundraiser.
Wow. Interesting. That's really cool. Yeah. So like you didn't mind. You're just as a college kid, you're picking up the phone and basically asking.
You're not even on the phone.
Right?
Actually, I was talking about not really wearing headsets. Probably the last time I really wore a headset was at a phone-a-thon caller. We would have headsets on, and it was a program on the computer that would just run. So information would pop up on the screen, and that was the basic information you would have while it was dialing, because it was an automated dialer. So you would just constantly have the ringing.
So it would just go as soon as you hung up, did it automatically just like dial?
You wouldn't even have to hang up. Like it would just hang up after so many rings. Sometimes you get a voicemail. So if you got a voicemail, you'd leave a voicemail or some different things like that. But for the most part, it was just kind of like going right on through. If people hung up on you or something like that, it would go to the next one. But yeah, things would just pop up on the screen and you just kind of have to be ready. It's very sales related.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like soft sales. So a lot of kind of that similar, cold calling.
But great experience.
Oh yeah,
at a young age.
Yeah.
Because again, we're pretty close in age, but I feel like I'll say like our generation and generations, the even younger than us or you, definitely probably hate the phone, right? Like,
and I still don't love the phone either.
Yeah, right. Yeah, please just text me.
Don't leave me a voicemail.
Especially after this last political season, like my God, like the amount of like phone calls. And text too, but like. God off. Like I wouldn't even. I actually just stopped answering my phone this past fall because you just didn't know
what it was.
And most likely it would have been like a political
something.
message, right?
Yeah.
But back to the whole, like, again, like the whole phone thing. Like, again, that's I mean, it's great experience. I mean,
absolutely.
To learn at a young age. But I'm sure obviously working too in the restaurant industry. I never did, but anyone that I've ever, whether it was they were on the show or just in general, I always know that people that worked in the restaurant industry usually have really good people skills, have really good communication skills.
Yeah.
And, because again, you're dealing with all kinds of people all day long. Like, were you a server?
No. So I was a, oh my God, what's it called? The person at the front door when you walk in.
Oh, yeah. Hostess.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's right. I couldn't think of it either, almost.
I was a hostess, which I liked. And especially at the TGI Fridays in State College, like game days, it was insane. Like, it would be packed. It would be crazy.
It didn't matter where you went out there.
No.
It could be a chain or not. It don't matter.
I liked at one point because it was crazy hectic when everyone was coming in. So having to get everyone sat and trying not to seat the same server twice in a row and trying to, time things out. But once all the seats were filled, it was very easy because then once somebody got up, then you just sat someone else. You would just overestimate on how much time you thought it would be because you don't want to underestimate and then have somebody waiting for their table to be ready. But yeah, definitely, lots of different personalities. It was actually cool. So I was upset because the very first Penn State hockey game was my junior year. And I wanted to go, but I had to work. So I kind of sucked it up, whatever. The entire team and their parents actually came to TGI Fridays after the game. So I didn't get to see the game, but I got to see all the players.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, after. For some reason, that was like a big spot. I think because it was really close to campus. So a lot of athletes, like after games and things like that, like would come over. So I was like, I missed the actual game, but at least I got like kind of like the after the very first. So I know where I was like the very first game.
What? When did it close? You said that.
That's a greite question. I feel like in the last 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, it felt like I feel like everything's probably closed since I've like every year now. Like you see more and more places close. There's still a handful of like the OG places like the First.
Yeah, my favorite bar. That is.
I mean, that one. I mean, if they ever go out of business,
I would cry.
I mean,
I might have to chain myself to the building.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That would be a sad day.
Did you go there for your 21st birthday?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so another fun fact about me: Penn State paid all the bars to be shut down for my 21st birthday.
Wait, what? What?
So my birthday's actually next week, and it's always right after Thon, and therefore it's sometimes State Patty's Day weekend. And my junior year was the year that Penn State was really trying to combat all the State Patty's Day-ness. Right. And so they paid the bars to be shut down.
That's right.
But
I
my birthday was Sunday. So I couldn't go out Saturday night because the bars were all paid to be shut down.
Oh, no. So what'd you do?
I mean, we had a house party.
Yeah, which I'm sure was still good.
Oh, yeah. And it was fun,
but you didn't get the first
I didn't.
experience.
I went out the next, like, they were then open, like, Sunday evening. So, like, we went out.
Yeah.
But it was definitely, like, a memorable, different type of experience because I wasn't able, I could not physically go out. There was nowhere to go.
Yeah. Do they still do State Patty's Day? Do you know?
Do they
still do that?
Actually, I just saw Family Clothesline was just pushing out like their T-shirt, so I'm fairly certain
they obviously
do.
I know you're a few years younger than me, but they obviously they're still doing it when you were there.
Oh yeah.
Right. So
I
mean that was only a few years ago, so I imagine.
I don't think it's
probably still doing it.
I don't think it's like died down at all. I think they did that one-off attempting to shut it down a little bit.
It probably made it worse.
Probably, because I actually lived, the apartment complex I lived at, there were a lot of Valley kids that lived there. That was just kind of where we all ended up. So, like,
where was it?
We lived at the Heights.
Okay.
Which actually, we were, quote unquote, homeless the first week of our junior year, because that's when we moved up there, and they were just building it.
Where was this?
It's across from the golf course.
New?
Do you know where like the Far Waffle Shop is on College Ave?
Yeah, like up on Viro?
Yeah. No.
Okay, so wait. Oh no, you're on this. There's
the Atherton one. Yeah, there's the Atherton one, and then there's the downtown one.
Yep.
And then there's the one all the way down College Ave.
Okay.
Like far down College Ave.
Yes.
So if you go all the way to that one, you turn right. and then you head up there, like right by the golf course.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, the Heights is up there, and they've like built it out even since then.
So like you were like the first to like live in it?
First ones ever.
That's nice.
But it wasn't completed on time. Oh. So I had friends that were living there, and the townhouses were done on time, but we were living in the apartments. And so they called us, I think it was either the Wednesday or Thursday before we moved down, and like we were moving down on like Friday, and they called us and told us that they weren't done yet. My mother was not amused.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So how'd that play out?
So it wasn't the worst, I would say. I lucked out because I had friends that were living there in a townhouse, and so it was 3-bedroom townhouse. 2 of them were a couple, and she stayed up with her boyfriend, and so I basically had a bedroom to myself, which was great. My roommates, they were all like staying on couches and living on floors the first week that we lived up there, and just kind of surviving and I guess kind of thriving. But luckily it was only that first week. I remember we brought all of our stuff, and our parents had to like help us load it into like these trucks that they just had like parked outside of the apartment complex. And then the upside was that like the actual like maintenance crew on from the apartment complex like helped then unpack everything. Like I don't think I actually like physically carried anything into my apartment then, but we had to like live out of a suitcase for the first week of junior year because we didn't have a place to live.
Nice. Homeless. Homeless.
We were like posting on social media like we are homeless, and it was
That's great. But that must have been great living in a brand new place, by the way.
It was cool. It was nice.
You know, and by the way, all the off-campus housing, I feel like has significantly improved at Penn State since. Even probably since you were there, and even since I've been there. I'm just thinking back, like when I was there, like I feel like everything was a dump.
Yeah, where'd you live?
So I lived like out in the middle of nowhere. I was one of those that like lived when I said Vira Boulevard. So I lived at Nittany Crossing, so Nittany Crossing, the Point, right out that way.
Yeah. The Heights was like down from the Point.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, so I lived in Nittany Crossing, and again, like looking back on it, it's like, oh yeah, it was kind of dumpy, but it wasn't bad.
There are definitely worse places.
Definitely worse places, but seeing all the new places that they're building now, it's like unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's like.
The skyscrapers, skyscrapers
they're
down
like
there.
super like luxurious. I'm sure they're. I think the one has a pool on the roof. Yeah, I actually I googled yours because I had to say I wanted to say.
We did have a pool. It wasn't on a roof, but we had a pool.
We had a pool. We had a pool. Do we have a pool?
I think actually, now that you say that, I think you did.
I think yeah, or maybe the one next door. I don't know. Either way, most places did have a pool, but.
Not on the roof.
Yeah, but not on the roof and on a high. Yeah, that's cooler.
Yeah,
that's cooler than just being ground level in a pool. Plus, brand new.
Yeah, it was nice being the first ones living there because you were like, okay, we know that like the carpet is clean and like nothing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
here.
That. That's. Geez, that only happens like once in a lifetime.
Absolutely.
I feel like living, in a brand new like place like that, like as a college student, because like I said, most of those places out there have been around for a long time, and you could tell they've been used.
Yeah,
used. My favorite was. And I don't even remember. I think I might not have got my deposit back, but a shout out to my cousin's roommate Adam. Decided to kick our front door in.
Oh no!
Not like actually kick. Like it was like he was like jokingly
around.
But he actually kicked the door.
That's when that happens. Like when you're joking about things. Yeah. Like you flub something, and then all of a sudden, like there's a broken door or window or something.
Yeah. So the main door to the apartment. Like it wasn't just like my bedroom in the apartment. It was the main door. Like and again, this was like right before graduation. Like it was
you were
like
almost home free.
Oh yeah. It was fine. It was like I'm pretty sure it was finals week.
Yeah.
And it might have been like right after, like where I think like seniors, like do they still call it like senior week? Is that like
I did.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But again, it's been 10 years since I graduated.
You kind of stay like a little bit after, right?
Yeah, the week after. Yep.
So it was either finals week or just
senior
after,
week.
and again we were just we were all taking our time, getting ready to move out, just still hanging out, and Adam decided to kick our front door in. Yeah, and he fixed it.
Yeah.
He fixed it, but so.
Did you ever stay a summer in State College?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. That's one thing I didn't
vibes.
do. I've obviously been out there for, like a few weekends here and there. Always like Arts Fest and, maybe just some other random thing. But no, I never actually stayed. Even though like I had the apartment there, like I never I never actually stayed like the summer or any length other than like a weekend, you know? So, but yeah, the vibe, that's what I've heard too. Cause I do, I have friends and stuff that had stayed, like they had jobs or whatever and just like, wanted to or needed to stay kind of thing. And everybody was the same thing. Like, it's just like it's like a different crowd.
It is, because it's quieter. So I stayed for...
I feel like it would have been kind of boring.
No.
You weren't bored?
No, I wouldn't say I was bored. Actually, because you were talking about the Point, I remember being on like the roof of one of the... Because the Point has like crosswalks, I think.
Okay.
Or is that Nittany Crossings? One of them has like crosswalks.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember... So my junior year, I stayed for a month when I was working at TGI Fridays. And like the restaurant life is really fun and interesting, because we would be out like really, like we would be watching like the sunrise, and then we wouldn't have to go to work until like 3-4 in the afternoon, something like that, and then we would just go do it all over again. And I remember like watching the sunrise from like the roof of like the Point of one of the walk things, and absolutely we shouldn't have been up there. But it was cool, and you could do things like that because no one was really around. I remember hearing that from older seniors at the time who were telling us like definitely I always say do a summer in State College, like try it once, because it's very different. Like it's more quiet, you kind of get to like go check things out. There's a lot of construction because that's higher ed in general. If you're on a campus in the summer, there's construction going on,
time to get it done
always. But it was very different, and it was cool because there's different people out and about. There's no lines really. Penn State actually has a conference for alumni volunteers every summer, which is a lot of fun. It's like 300 Penn State alums basically like get to go back to college for a long weekend.
Nice.
And it's usually like the end of July, so it's like still warm out, and like there's students around, but it's not as like crazy packed. And it's literally a conference. Like we're in conference sessions like all day long, but then we get to go out and like be like college kids again. And it's also a wide range. You have like some recent grads that are there, and then also we have alums who are.
How do I get invited to this?
Anyone can go. Anyone can go. I forget how much it even costs, but like anyone can really go and participate, and you just get to spend like a long weekend surrounded by other Penn Staters, and again really involved Penn Staters too, which are a lot of fun. So it's cool to be around everyone and get to be back, and also not having to wait in lines or be in crazy places and everything like that. So it's a really cool experience.
Yeah. And so like when you lived in Philly, I know you got involved with some Penn State, the Penn State stuff there. Like what'd you do there?
Yeah, so I actually even started getting involved my senior year. Before I was graduating, I was doing a mentoring program, and this was for the College of Health and Human Development, and somebody came and spoke to us about getting involved with that specific college has an alumni society board that is for the entire college, and then underneath the alumni society board there's actually different like baby boards essentially for each program. So like I studied human development and family studies. So there's like a human development and family studies alumni group. And I started getting involved there. Really liked being able to, keep connected to the university and have some kind of an impact on like my program and also the college. And then I moved into Philly like fall 2017, and I'd been to a few like game watches and knew that there was like a local chapter. And it was something I was kind of interested in, but wasn't really sure what that meant. And so I reached out and connected with Becky and Brian, who are like our chapter mom and dad.
Shout out to Becky and Brian. I don't even know them, but I like them already.
They like get us all involved. I mean, Brian's still our treasurer right now to this day, which is really, really great. They basically like raise their kids around it and everything. It's a really fun group to be around, and like that was my community in Philly for a very long time. And that's when we kind of have our mission of like making a Penn State home in the community that you're in. So that's the cool thing, is any major city, but also any county in Pennsylvania, and then a lot of different places throughout the country, like there's a Penn State home for you. So the Philly chapter, we're doing all the things. We have game watches every single Penn State football weekend. We've done game watches for other sports too. We do mentoring, networking, fundraising for scholarship. Actually, just this past weekend, I was in Philly because we had our Liberty Ball Gala, which is our Thon alumni fundraiser. So we had almost 400 people in the room. We raised over $77,000, and it was great too because it goes exactly into the thon total.
So it's running like simultaneous to
this was the first year it ever did. It's usually the weekend after.
Oh yeah, because you were
thon.
saying that the this year thon was late.
Yeah,
right?
and so you have to like set your venue early in advance. So we had this contract signed for an extended period of time, and when thon weekend was announced, we were like, oh no, it's the same weekend, and we were like, it's the 20th anniversary of the Liberty Ball. Let's just see how it goes and do it. So it was really cool because we got to have the thon live stream like on the screens as we were actually participating in the Liberty Ball and doing our total, and just being able to be in a big Penn State community. We had people from Four Diamonds there, and we had a thon family there, and it really gets to like hit home about what you're doing. So I went back to thon last year for the first time since I graduated, and it's still that same feel, and it's great to then be able to recreate that in your own community. So I've loved doing that for Philly for the last 8 years now, almost. I'll be rolling off the board this summer, finally.
Well, that's awesome.
It's like a bittersweet thing.
Yeah.
But now I've been connecting with the Penn State Wyoming Valley chapter, which is looking to do a lot of big things too. So wherever you are, you can always find Penn Staters doing good things.
Oh, for sure. And what an incredible organization, by the way, thon. I mean, there's nothing like it. And I mean, I feel like most people probably have at least heard of it.
Yeah.
But like, man, like it just gives me the chills thinking about what they raised. It was like 19 million.
17 million.
17,
yeah.
17.
It's a lot of sevens this year, we've been saying. Like that was 17 million. We raised 77,000 at Liberty with the Ball.
Yeah,
so we're
wow.
like, it's a good lucky number. So
Yeah. But what an incredible, organization. Like, I mean, I never danced, but I mean, when I was there, like I went to them, I had friends that, I had some friends that were dancers, a couple years here and there. I mean, if you've never experienced it, I mean, like it's unbelievable. I mean, there's nothing else like it.
It's just that vibe, like that really good feeling when you're in the room and everyone's in there trying to do the same thing and just making a good positive impact. That's why I love what I do, because you just keep getting that feeling.
Yeah, I heard, I saw like, I don't know what it was. It was like an accidental fire alarm or something.
I saw that. That was Friday night.
Was it fire
alarms were going off.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
And I think they had to evacuate about, right? Like, sure.
I think they told them not to worry. Like, I think it was one of those like immediate things where they weren't sure what was going on. And I wasn't watching then. I usually like to watch the live stream throughout.
Yeah, like I just caught the blip somewhere on social media, and then like, again, I caught it like after the fact and just said like it was like a 15-minute thing, and like it was good after, it was no big deal.
That's scary too, because you're like, especially on Friday night, because that's when the dancers are standing up for the first time. You have a packed house.
Yeah.
You have a packed house.
Just starts.
Yeah, starts. So like probably roughly 16,000 people in the BJC.
Yeah,
all
now
at once.
what? Yeah, like God forbid it. I mean, if it was something serious, I mean, like, geez, that'd be like, it'd be pretty devastating to the event, But I mean, I'm glad nothing. It was nothing serious. I don't even know like what or why it happened. Like it was. I think it was just
I think something just got triggered or something like that. But from what I saw, it sounded like they figured it out pretty quickly.
Yeah. So then what brought you? So you were in Philly. What brought you back home?
Yeah.
What brought you back home? Like I can't talk. What brought you back home here?
Yeah. So it wasn't something that I necessarily always planned on doing, but it wasn't something that I wasn't planning on doing. I just kind of ended up in Philly. It's funny because I'm basically the antithesis of a Philadelphia sports fan. I grew up a third generation Cowboys fan. Obviously being in the area, I'm a Penguins fan. If you told me even probably junior year of college that I was going to end up living in Philly,
you'd be like, no way.
Right, I would have never probably believed it.
I want to be around those Eagles fans. I don't think anybody, no offense. I mean, well, whatever. Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to be around Eagles fans.
I appreciate them now. I've come to appreciate them. I mean, I have
only because of Saquon a bit.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a good one. But like, I grew up, like, I was always that girl getting shit from all the guys being so annoying. And I was like, first of all, calm down.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that big of a deal. Also, and I can say this myself, the Cowboys haven't been relevant for a very long time. So like, let's get over this. I never really saw myself in Philly, and that's where I ended up getting a job when I first graduated, and I ended up loving it. Philly's so gritty, and it's funny even using that word, because when gritty was first announced, also as a Penguins fan, I was like, what is that thing? Like, I hate it. And now he's like one of my favorite like personalities ever. I think it's hilarious. I really like fell in love with Philly, and I love the city, but also like city living is very transient. you know, you have a lot of friends who, I have so many friends now that lived in Philly and live all throughout the country now. So it's kind of just like restarting all the time. And I just felt like it was kind of getting slightly exhausting. And I love the city. I love Philly. I've been there twice now in the last 4 days down and back. So I'm there very often. And then also like cost, you know, I was kind of getting ready to buy a house and make some other life choices. And doing that in Philly versus doing it in the Valley costs a lot different.
Yeah, it's like, where do I want to invest my money? And how far could it go?
Yeah.
You know, as you just said, like, obviously, you could go a lot further here, of course.
And I have so many friends. A lot of my family is still here. And it was really great to make an impact in Philly, but then to now be able to take everything that I've been doing for the last 10 years and come back home and be able to make that impact in the community that raised me, you know, that's something that's really important to me. And when I would come home, I would be in for like short weekends and kind of be bopping around. You know, you're trying to see everyone and you just can't do that. And like now I get to hang out with my best friends like on a random Tuesday or something like that. You know, they would all be together doing like trivia or something. And I would just be texting them like, okay, well, have fun. Like, I guess I'll see the pictures afterwards.
Yeah.
And of course, like I was doing stuff with my friends in Philly too. But when you have people consistently moving in and out of the city, like it does get exhausting. When you have your like core community that's ever changing like that, that can kind of shake you sometimes, where I felt like coming back home, like this is a community again that raised me, created me, taught me how to do so many things, and now to be able to come back home and being able to have a positive impact in that way, you know, that's something that was very important for me.
I love that. Yeah, that's great, and I'm sure NEPA is glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Yeah. What's new in higher ed right now?
Oh, that's a really good
I know there's
question.
probably a lot, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, for you, like based on like what you do, like you know, like is there anything, you know, new you're seeing or challenges or like what's happening?
I think it's just keeping up with the students, you know. Today's students are different than the students of when we were there versus like decades before.
I want to know,
that.
how are the students nowadays? Like,
They're good, you know. I think they're trying to be out there, like making a positive impact and doing good things. It's just doing things differently now. You know, what I think is so important, especially, you know, working at a liberal arts school, is that what you learn in college isn't necessarily what you're going to be doing for your life. You know, the average person changes their career about 3 times.
that's right. What was your degree in? Was
Human development and family studies.
You know, it's so funny you say that, and like don't take this the wrong way, but like I had friends that majored in that too, and honestly, back then, and I still don't know, which I'm gonna ask.
Yeah.
Back then, like I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, no, of
like, and I
course.
never asked. I don't know why.
So it's funny too, because that degree started as a home economics degree, and I want to say the name has changed like 5 or 6 times, like what they've changed it into. I always like to pitch it as it's a mix between like social psych and biology. Like I took classes, I had an entire class that was infant development,
Okay.
which was interesting because I was working in childcare at the time, so I would get to go see in class and learn things, and then go to daycare and like physically apply it. Yeah, it was really fascinating. But then I also had an entire class, which I know they still do today. Everyone should take this. I think it should be a gen ed, but it's a listening course. So literally an entire semester.
Oh my God, this is I need to hear about this.
listening skills.
Oh, everyone needs it.
Absolutely. And I think it's only a human development and family studies class, and I want to say it's like a 300 or 400 level course, but 1000% Penn State, if you're listening, I think this should be a gen ed course.
Yeah.
Because I remember on day 1, and I probably remember this course the most.
Oh my, I need to hear about this. All right,
any class,
I need to know. Take me through the whole course.
Yeah. So day 1, you would go in, and I remember the teacher had you be in groups of 2, and it was either 30 seconds or a minute, but one person just had to sit there, not say a word, not react, no head nodding. You're doing that now. You can't even do that.
Okay.
No.
All right.
So somebody would have to sit there and talk for I think it was a minute, like a full minute straight.
And like
you couldn't do
the listener,
anything.
you had to sit there like this.
Could not do anything. Like no.
I feel like that's awkward, isn't it?
Yeah, it was supposed to be too, because it was supposed
really?
to show you like how much you need. Like a minute doesn't feel like a very long time, and you're like, oh, I can talk for a minute. You know, I talk all the time. It's so easy.
Yeah.
But to sit there for a whole minute and to sit there and not respond is also difficult and challenging.
Yeah.
And then throughout the semester, we learned like different skills, you know, how to respond, body language, how to make sure you're actively listening. Actively listening is such a difficult thing to do. It's still something I think about almost every day at work. But we ended up at the end of the semester, you had to go to, in Penn State has these like one-touch studios or something, like one button something. I forget what it was called.
I don't know.
But you would go in basically almost kind of like a podcast studio.
Okay, yeah.
And it was set up to record and to video sessions. And I don't know what every other, program or whatever uses it for. I'm sure it's probably across the board. A lot of different colleges at Penn State use it. But for this specific program, you had to go in, take a friend or somebody with you and do a 15-minute like conversation using all the skills that you learn.
So this is like, it's almost like podcast prep.
Kind of.
But like, right? Like, it really is. Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it was a really good, and again, I think about it almost every single day.
So wait, how was this 15-minute thing? How'd this go? I think
it went well. Honestly, I don't remember that. I remember going and recording it and doing it, but I mostly remember that very first class because it was, and I remember sometimes too, before I would go to class, I would like be actively paying attention to my day because I would be like, I'm going to have to now talk about what I was just doing for an extended period of time. So you would like prep ahead of time and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about today. So it was a really great class. And I was back in State College for a board meeting, I think like a year ago. And we were set up at different tables with students who were in our program. And it was myself, a couple of other HDFS alums, and the students' parents. And they were kind of asking some questions, specifically about the degree. What can you do with this degree? Because it is so kind of open and general, which is great. There are people that go into childcare. There are people that go into therapy, nonprofit world. It's so open to what really you can use this degree for. And I think her parents like hearing all of this. And that was something I talked about was this class. I said, if you haven't taken this class yet, I'm pretty certain it's required. But I was like, make sure you like get the most out of it. And all the other alums that were sitting there, I think there were like 3 or 4 other alums and like a vast age range too. Like there were some alums who graduated in I think like the 80s and they were like, no, I remember that class too.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know that it was like done the exact same way, but it's a very similar kind of skill set.
Yeah.
And I seriously like talk about it all the time.
So like, are there like key things that they teach you? Like if you had to say like right now, if you had to explain it in like 30 seconds or less, like, do they tell you like, okay, to be a good listener, you need to implement this and then do X, Y, and Z. Is there something like that you could like in 30 seconds or less say like how to be a good listener? Like, or just kind of sum it up, like what, like, and again, like, it's funny because podcasting and like what I do, like I think I'm a good listener, right? At least, like I try. All right, and I'm almost like 250 episodes in, and obviously my show has primarily like over the years, a lot of people have said, "Hey, Bill, like we want to hear from you more. Like you don't talk as much." And I'm like, "Well, I know, because
you're listening."
Right, yeah, and like I feel like the point of my show, at least for the most part, it's this is one thing that really hasn't really ever changed, even though I do talk a little bit more now, especially my long-winded story before. Oh my God, I'm embarrassed about it. But that's why I don't talk, because I have these embarrassing long stories that don't make any sense.
We got there,
right?
It was a journey. We got there.
Yeah. But listening, I always just said like my show is more about like the guest and like and like their experiences and like the all the value and everything that you bring to the table. Like it's but I'm also just like genuinely interested in people. Like and it's not just because like I'm doing this like. And like I just like hearing the stories. Like I just like hearing, so like I just ask a question and then people just talk. And
you like being a storyteller.
Yeah. So but I'm also always still trying to improve my listening skills. And then, just however, like I always whenever like it comes up in conversation, like listening skills, like beyond just, me listening during my podcast, like I do like sometimes like to talk about like to other people, like because I think it actually is like, I don't want to say it's a problem, but I think listening skills, it is a problem. Like most people don't have good listening skills.
No.
And and to be honest, I don't think I ever did either. Like I'm not saying like I'm an expert listener. I think I'm a lot better now, and I think it's because of the podcast, right? But and I think everybody struggles with it to a degree. Because again, it is just one of those things, like everybody's just so quick to want to say what they want to say. And so quick to just like, everyone's always just thinking of what you're going to, like what I'm going to say next, instead of like actually listening to your story and then like asking like a follow-up question based on what you just said or whatever it is. Like that's, I think it's a huge problem in society. I think it's worse. I think it's gotten worse. I think maybe unfortunately because of technology and social media and stuff,
Attention
which
spans.
yeah, and I also have ADHD, so like mine's like double the problem for me. But I mean, I do love technology and social media and all that too. So like I'm a huge, like I tend to be on the positive side of it than the negative side. But I think it has made it worse on society, and the listening skill, people's listening skills, I think, just aren't good anymore. Especially, I'll say, maybe the younger generations a little bit more. Maybe.
It's challenging being present, and it's interesting too, because I'm in the Leadership Northeast program, and I know we can't say too much about things because I like to keep things on the down low, so that way when people participate, they don't know what's
it's new.
coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I already know.
Yeah. But we just did a session last week, at some point in the last couple of weeks, where again I talked about this class because it was about listening skills, and it was a great little refresher because it was a lot of the similar things where we're actively watching. Is somebody listening the right way? And a big part of it is being present. I actually studied mindfulness a little bit in college as well. I had my daycare, my after school kids like practicing mindfulness after they would get off the bus to kind of decompress and like be in the present moment. But it's so hard being in the present moment.
How do you do that? What do you do? What did you teach the kids?
So we did a lot of things actually that were like kid friendly. So one thing was blowing bubbles.
Okay.
Where they focused on just blowing bubbles. Because you're present in the moment, you're focusing on what you're actively doing. It's hard. Like, my brain goes a million miles a minute. There's so many things that I'm thinking of all the time.
And then plus, like, your phone. Like, we all have the distraction of the phone. Like, as soon as you get a text, you're like, oh, you're like this.
Actively on it.
Right?
My teams are like
we're all
blowing
guilty
up.
of it. Yeah, we're all guilty of it. Text, emails, no calls. Everybody just ignores calls no matter what. But
well, that was actually, one side note, when I was in Philly, I would always ignore 570 numbers because they're almost always spam numbers. Now that I'm back though, I have to start answering those numbers.
It's like, because
it might
actually be important. Yeah.
So that's been a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I will say I think the hardest part about active listening is not listening to respond. And like, how do you do that? Like, I feel like and sitting with silence, I think. A lot of people don't like...
Yeah, because it's awkward.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of people don't like that. They feel like they have to consistently be filling that void. And that's challenging. It's not easy.
No.
Like, it's something that I have to, again, be actively participating and paying attention to. When I go out on the road and I go out to meet alums and I want to hear their stories, there's a lot of times where what you want to do to connect with people is share something of yourself. And you are supposed to do that. That is a part of it. You shouldn't not be responding or sharing your story or anything like that. But it shouldn't be every single thing somebody says, then you share your own piece, because then you're not actively listening to them. You're actively...
And it may not seem as genuine.
Right. Or, it's kind of like then taking away from their experience.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can relate to that because of this. Oh, I can relate to that because of this. And it's like, all right, enough, buddy.
And then are you doing that, or are you just trying to one-up now at this point?
Yeah. Oh, I know that. Yeah, that's annoying. That's super annoying.
It's challenging, though, but it's not easy.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's all communication skills. And so back to I found it funny when you said, like, when you that first day, like, you just had to sit there and you weren't even allowed to nod.
Yeah.
So why not? Like, why wasn't the person allowed to nod?
It was showing the importance of body language. And as you're the person there, again, a full minute you don't think is that long, but when you're
because I nod a lot.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah, I mean, because obviously, so, when the show's cut together, I mean, there's obviously 3 different camera angles, and when the guest is talking, the camera's primarily on you only, so nobody sees me over here like this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really not. I was exaggerating, but I do.
That's actually what you have been doing the whole time. No,
damn it! I wish you wouldn't have told them that. I'm going to have to cut that out. I'm kidding. But no, I do a lot of nodding over here. And I'm actually kind of even interested in, like, almost like taking this course. I think I'm good, but I mean, I'm sure I could be better.
It's practice.
But I think I'm probably better than most people, and that's not like me bragging, but it's just because of doing
what you
this.
do.
Yeah, I do
you're
this.
You're actively doing it.
Right. And I think, like, I just learned as I went. Like, I never took the course, right?
You should have, though. Penn State should make it a Gen Ed.
I didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain.
I probably wouldn't have taken it back then, to be completely honest.
I don't know that I would have chosen to either. Again, I'm pretty sure it was A, mandatory, and B, either a 300 or 400 level course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's up there. But But yeah, like again, like I just sort of learned. I mean, I feel like I've always had good like people and communication skills.
Yeah.
Which I think I've learned at Penn State actually. Like, and again, not because of like any one course. I just think because of just being at the school and and the size of the school and again, just having to whether make friends, strangers, not whatever. But yeah, like again, like I just in conversations like this, I feel like I've just learned to and I don't know what it is. I mean, I guess it just kind of has come natural to me, I think, right? Like, I don't even know how or why, but just in these conversations, I know how awkward it is when you're in a conversation with somebody and they're just like this.
Yeah. It doesn't work.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. So, but like, like, and when you, and again, like I'm sure you could talk a little bit more about the course, like the reasons behind it. But like when somebody's talking and you're doing the nod, it's like, you're letting, like, as you're nodding, as the listener, you're letting the other person know, like, that's good.
Yeah.
Keep going. That's good. Right. Like, I think, I mean, that's what I feel like, it is. But
well, even the little noises we've been making the whole time, that's also like an active part of like the, it's like
me too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do it.
Yeah. Right.
So much. Yeah.
Yeah. I try. So it's funny, it's actually really funny when I really think about this now and talk about it. Because I'm going like way back to the way beginnings of the show. Now, again, like this, I've been doing this like 5 years now, but I think like earlier on, I think I and stuff like way too much.
Okay.
Right. So, and I think I sort of maybe just caught on to it and I was just like, oh my God, I sound like an idiot. Right. So,
which maybe it's a little different with podcasting because I feel like it's something too if you're in person with someone.
It's a little, it's
you do that a lot, but if you're doing it to listen, but also for listeners, I don't know that listeners want to be hearing that as much.
Yeah, and I think that's what I realized. So again, like when I and as I've grown and I would listen to other shows, listen or watch just to see how also like the pros have done, right? And like how they have conversations and just everything about it. And I just like, I would learn from like just watching and listening to other people. And again, like, I think it's more so if you're just actively, like, let's just say you're just listening, like in a car or you just have headphones in and like, you're just doing something and you're just listening, you're not watching. I feel like the, like when somebody else is talking is like more annoying because you're only listening. If you're watching something, I feel like it's not as bad. I don't know why. I guess because it has the visual component. Yeah. And it's not like, you're not just strictly listening. And when you're just strictly listening, the only thing you're getting is the sound, which I know this sounds really weird right now, like talking this out loud. Yeah. But when you're only like listening to the audio version, I mean, you're so tuned into the audio only because that's all that there is. And I feel like you hear every word like very well. At least if you're listening good, right? But yeah, so like I feel like earlier on, like I used to do that like too much. I don't know if it was just out of nervousness or who knows, whatever. That's
a normal response. And that was something that we were taught to do. Yeah. To get people to keep talking. Yeah. It's the same thing with the head nodding. It's the same thing with body language, moving in towards people. Those are all pieces of body language that we use to show other people that we're listening and to keep them to keep telling their story. Yeah. So then I think like as I've evolved, and I'll say like I feel like I've gotten better. I definitely have. Like I also started limiting my and yeahs and whatever it was. Because then it kind of ruined, and it sounds really weird, but from like a podcast standpoint, from producing a podcast standpoint, I mean, obviously it could probably be muted and cut out if I really want to, but then it's creating more work. But, for like a soundbite, like a good clip, like nobody wants to hear me. And I'm talking about myself here, right? I'm going to make fun of myself. Nobody wants to hear me, right? Over your great story. Right. You know what I mean? Like you're telling a great story. And like, that's a really good point. Yeah. And like, and I've also like learned too, as I'm doing the episodes, everybody's getting like a one-on-one on podcasting here, by the way. Like from someone who's never podcasted before. Right. So. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But like as me as the podcast host, but also the producer of the show, like, so afterwards, when I go to, take the content and pick it and pull it apart and create a trailer clip or other clips. Right. So, and when I do that again, like but when I'm in the moment now, like I make some notes and I can,
I think just because I'm experienced enough now, I kind of sort of know already clips that I'm gonna pull because I just know, like I just know in the moment. I'm like, oh man,
That's
like,
it.
oh man, she just said like that was like a killer statement, like, you know what I mean?
Whenever people see you writing, they should know that's gonna be it.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, so there's that, and like I said, like usually I can almost tell like when somebody's about to start, meaning a guest, like if somebody's about to start telling like a story. I'll actually limit my, or I'll try to, at least I try to. I'll try to limit my mm-hms, right, or my right, whatever it is,
or even just you sharing, probably also,
right, or me like, cutting
I'm sure there's 8 different things that you thought to say in the midst of a story that they're telling.
And it's
but
so
you're
hard
trying to let them tell their story,
right, for multiple reasons, not just because I want to get a good clip for a trailer of the show, but also like I'm also just trying not to interrupt your story. I'm trying to be I'm trying to be a good listener, right? But then also from the production standpoint of the show, you got, like, you know, me as the host and producer, and I have an editor too, like, so it's not just me, but you know, I have to take all those things in consideration, like in the moment, like live on the fly, like I have to know that, you know, and again, like these are all the things that people don't think about when it comes to, and again, it's not just podcasting. It could be anything. It could be
having a conversation.
Yeah, or giving a presentation. Like, you know, you could apply it to, you're giving a pitch, whether you work in sales or, you know, or if you're you know, talking, you know, with coworkers, or you're just giving a presentation or an update or whatever it is. I mean, like all the it applies like in a lot of aspects of life. Yeah, but that's very interesting. It's very interesting, and you know who does really, really good. I mean, and whether you like him or not, is Joe Rogan. And I forget the video I watched, but somebody else shared it with me at one point, and I actually still go back and watch this one video, and it's like maybe like 10 or 15 minutes, and it's this I forget the name of this company, but they're actually like some type of it might be called like Charisma. It's a YouTube channel. It's called like something Charisma, and it's something about like how to engage with people in conversation and like how to actually like have a good conversation and not be like, so how about the weather today? You know what I mean?
Like a deep conversation.
Yeah, and so what they did was that this company, again, like they have like courses and everything. It's like a legit company, and they took and they analyzed like Joe Rogan's style of like, because again, like the diversity of guests that he's had on, like it's insane. Like, and to be honest, I don't really even watch his show that much, like, which is funny, but there's this one video, like I said, it picks apart, like it takes like, I don't know, like maybe like 5 or so different episodes of his, and it's just like a couple minute clip from like each episode, and then there's like a voiceover person, like a guy talking about how Joe Rogan is engaging in the conversation and how he's doing it. And like his logic behind how he asks the question, maybe gives a compliment, whatever. Like there's just so much to it, and like and like I said, like I'm gonna watch it again after this because it's a good refresher, like for me, like because
you want to be getting to the point where you're doing it without thinking about it.
Yes,
and that's the heart. Like that's the mindfulness of it, is being present in the moment, learning these skills and applying them, but then also trying not to actively be thinking about it the whole time.
Yeah, it just becomes a habit.
Yeah,
right. So and I think and like I said, like I'll watch that video like every like few months. Like sometimes I'll feel like I just need, maybe I'm getting a little rusty. I need to brush up on like these skills. And like I said, there's multiple different like skills all within that video of and again, like how Joe Rogan's just he's like a really, really, really good conversationalist. And just like, no matter what, the guy could just like keep and hold a conversation. Just I don't know what it is, but he's obviously number one in the world for a reason, right? Probably a lot of different reasons, but the point is this company actually like used parts of his podcast episodes to prove and to show like, hey,
what those skills are.
Exactly, and a lot of it is what you just said, like a lot, and it just all ties in. It's just very fascinating to me. And again, it doesn't matter if you're trying to be a podcast host, you are or you aren't. Like you could still learn, and you like
building relationships.
Yeah. It's again, especially nowadays with we can all just hide behind our phones through texting or social media, and when you have to like actually like sit down with somebody like face to face, like it's a lot different. Yeah, and especially after COVID too. Like not to go down a whole COVID rabbit hole, but that I think also has like really
taken a toll on like people's communication skills.
People
and
skills.
Yeah, people, like it really has, because everyone just, we all just sort of
We're
became,
avoiding people for a while.
Yeah, like we had to, right?
Yeah,
Like,
It wasn't on purpose.
Yeah, right. But then I think it turned into probably on purpose. And nowadays I think I actually just avoid everybody on purpose anyway. But no, but like, yeah, it's fascinating. And really, like, I actually like enjoy like it's fun. It's so funny. I don't even know how we got on down this rabbit hole. I don't know, but it's
the world of like phone-a-thon calling and that's a piece of it too, honestly, because I was doing that my senior year, probably in the midst actually of this class, because this class would have been my fall of my senior year. So I was doing both at the same time. And it's really interesting too, when I was then running a phone-a-thon program at a different institution. And now I get to see, like, I call them my phone-a-thon kids, but some of them were literally within a year of my age, because I started running it when I was 22 and I had seniors who at Westchester who were doing it. So now, like, they're the same age as I am, but they were like my quote unquote kids. But now seeing them on LinkedIn and seeing the different jobs that they're doing, I don't know that any of the ones that I actively keep up with on LinkedIn like are doing fundraising at all, but it's skills that they learned as phone-a-thon callers, that it's like essentially soft sales say that 5 times fast. That now they're doing a bunch of other different things like out in the world, and it's cool to see like what you can do with those skills, because those are so important to life in general, no matter what you're doing.
And I think people just don't realize, and I think not that this is like public speaking, but like almost in a sense, you know what I mean? And I think there's probably a lot of people that want to have a podcast for whatever reason, whether it's personally, professionally. But I think even people who probably would be good at it are also still just afraid of putting themselves out and being like the host. You know what I mean? Like, because it all goes back to like these skills, and
because you're essentially running the conversation.
Yeah,
in charge. Like,
it's like you're in charge, and it's like I'm in charge of no dead space. Right?
Yeah.
I'm in charge of like that, not having that.
My job here is the easiest part, because I'm just supposed to be talking and answering questions and everything. Where you're the one who needs to be actively listening, and then B, also at the same time actively thinking about where the conversation should be going.
So there's a lot of multitasking. I also have to look at 3 cameras, make sure they're not on fire, make sure they're still recording. I got this thing over here. I got to watch the clock. I got like there's a million moving parts. I'm trying to make some notes to remember stuff for afterwards, and it's like, ooh, there's a lot. It's
a little mentally tolling.
And then not to discourage anyone, obviously, if anyone's watching or listening that is interested in ever having a podcast or just creating any content period, like please don't think I'm not saying this to discourage anyone. Like, it's obviously I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm good, but I think I could still be better. I'm not one of those people that think like, just because I've been doing this 5 years doesn't mean I'm like the best, and I'm always looking to learn. And but again, like, I think just my experience over time, I've gotten better just by doing it. And again, like, and it came at the cost of me maybe looking silly a bunch of times, and like, that's okay too.
You have to be open to that.
And I think
really doing anything, people that go viral on social media or have successful content, it's because they're out there just doing it.
And just being authentic about it, because again, like, there could be so much more. Like, I think one of the funny things, like, too, about like, and just podcasts in general, or my show, I think one of the things that most people are really surprised about afterwards is, and you'll know because like you're a guest, like, and you'll see it afterwards. But I think a lot of people think that there's like more editing that goes into this, like more stuff gets cut out, like that, but not here, at least not here, like not this show. As you could probably tell, it's not like there's no screw ups, right? Any little blunders or whatever. Like, I was a couple times, like, I screwed up words, you screwed up words. Like, it's just normal and natural. And like, some people might be self-conscious. I think that's okay. Like, are you a little bit embarrassed about it? Yeah, okay. But like, it's normal and natural.
Right.
Like, and like, to cut out stuff like that, like, I don't know, some people would want stuff like that cut out, and it's like, to me, I'm like in the beginning, I was kind of like, oh, like, I should cut that out, like, but just like, it's just normal, like, it's just not, and exactly how
it's authentic.
Right, and then I think that's what really makes the show, because it's, again, like, you'll see that, like, basically almost exactly what we recorded is what's going to be put out. Like, it's not, there was no, we didn't stop for this, or we didn't retake that, or, has some of that stuff happened over time? For sure, but it wasn't just because, like, I was embarrassed by something. It was like, oh, maybe the camera. It's literally like one time, like something stopped recording. I was like, oh shit,
have to actually do something.
To get up and press the button again, and then we gotta be like, okay, hey, we gotta pick up kind of where we left off to make it together. But or because it cut off in the middle of a story, for example. But otherwise, like I said, I mean, I think people are usually pretty surprised to hear that. Like a lot of people think that there's so much more cut out of episodes, at least of my show anyway. I don't know what people think of other shows, but it's not. Like, it's just it almost exactly what it is what the finished product is, which I'm glad about it, because I've always tried my hardest, I think, too, to make sure that there is, not having to do that, because that just creates I feel like a post-production nightmare.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. There's a lot that goes into it, but yeah, like I'm fascinated by this topic and this conversation. Like I said, I'm gonna go. But I'll send you that. I'm gonna find it. It always takes me like 5 minutes. I think I bookmarked it somewhere on YouTube.
I'll find that class at Penn State too. I know I can Google it and figure it out. Oh yeah.
So I'll say. I think I might be totally wrong, but it might be like Charisma University or something. It might be what it's called. But it's just like an online company. Yeah. That they just help you with all kinds of like, speaking skills, communication, whatever. And like I said, I mean, clearly, the it was that clip that's not just for podcasters, but it's just in general, like, how to have a good conversation. You're not just, hey, so how about the Yankees? Oh yeah. It sucks. Okay. How about the weather today? It's like, like small talk. Right. It was basically like, get rid of the small talk and how to talk, but not have awkward small talk
on the surface. Actual deep conversations.
Yes. So because that's really what the show's about. Like, I feel like deep conversations. And obviously some guests are easier and like we can relate more. Obviously, you and I have the Penn State connection, which makes it
so easy.
I know. Yeah, it makes it, oh my god, it's like this is a breeze, but not all are, and sometimes too. Again, I'm just talking podcast industry stuff, but a lot of times too, like when people right when we hit go, that's like all of a sudden some people just maybe freeze up a little, or maybe just don't become. I'm
still actively thinking about how I'm like sitting and all those pieces.
Yeah. Well, you're doing great, by the way. Like, thank you. I mean, like nobody, unless I said that earlier, nobody would ever know that like this was like your first time ever on a show.
Thank you. Maybe
it's partly because of that course you took. Yeah, I think you're also just a genuine person. I mean, you could just tell. Because you could really tell. I mean, I feel like I could anyway. You could just really tell, like, when people have that fake, like, they're just saying the things they're doing just because either they're on a show, whether it's a podcast or TV or not, whatever. But I don't know. I feel like you could just tell. You could nowadays.
They're trying to figure out what you're asking them before you're even asking it.
Yeah, it's like just
go with the flow.
Yeah, just have the conversation. Like, stop thinking about having. Just have the conversation. Yeah. Just talk and just see where it goes, and sometimes there's a minute of silence and
it's okay to be comfortable in the silence.
Yeah. Which I think that is one thing that a lot of people just aren't comfortable with is silence, which is interesting. I'm trying to intentionally pause to create.
I saw where you were going with that.
I was trying to make awkward silence to test ourselves here, but I feel like we're just too comfortable with it that it doesn't really bother us.
But I feel like people too feel like they have to respond right away when you can sit with a question. Like
for example, like if I asked you a question and you just went like this, like, let me think about that for a second.
Yeah, that's why I like saying that's a good question. And then I think about it.
It's like, it's kind of like stall, and there's a word for it. I forget what it is.
And that's okay, because you don't need to have a response right off the bat. And you also, as the person asking the question, need to be comfortable with letting somebody sit with it.
Yeah. So I think it was, I forget what the hell the word was, and I just looked it up, but I guess now it's going to drive me nuts.
Of course.
But I remember it was actually, shout out to Chris Bohinski at PA Live. He's actually the one that
he's a great interviewer.
Yes, and it's actually vamping. I thought that's what it was, but I wasn't sure because
I don't think I've heard of that term before.
Yeah, so when I first Googled it, it didn't come up what I thought it was coming. I don't know what came up, but I did find it now. But at first it came up in a different definition. I'm like, that's not it.
That's not it.
I didn't want to say it and be like, oh my god, that means something totally bad. Yeah. Right. So so vamping is a verb that means to speak without preparation to pass time or to stall time. Right. So it's kind of similar to what you just said, how you said like, oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And and I do that too myself a lot of times. Like, and even when because I've been on other podcasts and somebody asks a question, I'd be like, and not that I don't know how to answer it, but I'm still trying to formulate my thoughts or how I want to deliver it. And sometimes I will do that same thing. I'll be like, wow, that's a really good question. I never thought about that. And as you're saying that, you're sort of multitasking too, trying to decipher your thought, like what you want to say. But yeah, so I had Chris on way back in the day, when like literally within the first like year of the show. But I don't know if he said it during the show, like or after. Maybe he told me after. I forget, but he told me that he's the one that shared that term with me, and it stuck with me forever.
Yeah.
And he does, honestly, like I think he's probably like one of the, like I've never really seen many people do it better than him. But also I think too, I mean, again, he's, he has that background of entertainment and everything, but also with him being on live TV almost every day, you have to be good at that.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like it's live TV.
And people are terrified getting on that show too. I've been on it before, and again, I'm more comfortable with this space. But
it's still terrifying.
It's still terrifying. Yeah. And, having people that I know go on that I know right off the bat aren't necessarily comfortable with it. Even watching them on, you can tell right away that they're comfortable. And it's always the, oh my God, I blacked out. I don't even know what it's going to look like. And then you watch them and you're like, no, you're fine. Like, it was fine. It's okay. Especially when you have a good interviewer. Like, Chris is really good at knowing when to say somebody's name, because if it's 2 or 3 people on stage and they don't know who to talk or who should be speaking.
Yeah. So I'll be like, oh, Steve, can you tell me about it? Yes. Right. Exactly. Yeah. It is, again, like even same thing with me too. Like, anytime I've had 2 guests, which is like pretty rare, because I just like one-on-one, like, because you feel like you really can't get to know like one person when you have multiple. But there's times, again, when it's 2 guests and it's like, okay, I ask a question, it's like, who's gonna go first? And you don't want to be,
you stare at each other awkwardly.
It's like, you go, But that's why, again, same thing, you just use the name. Like, hey, Janelle, could you tell me what you think about whatever? And that's like, then you say, hey, Chris, tell me about what you you know what I mean? So like, you direct it at that person. That way, again, there's no like, it doesn't matter what their experience level is. Like, there's no like, nobody knows what to do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They're always afraid about what could go wrong. Like that's always, whether you're responding to a question or, any type of situation like that. I think everyone's just so afraid of saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Then it's like that mild panic of what to do.
For sure.
And like, it's okay to think. It's okay to take a minute, take a beat and think about what you want to respond with.
That's right. Yeah. It's not as complicated as everyone thinks.
I feel like we're just so used to instantaneous anymore.
We are, and that's why. Yeah.
And just doing something right away that it's like, oh, I need to answer this right away. And it's like, no, it's okay to sit with it. And you, as the person who's asking the question, also has to be okay with sitting with it.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta kind of just let it be and just see where it goes. And if there's a little silence, well, never killed anyone. All right, I think we
I don't know how good we are at silence, but
we're okay. But all right, so now that everybody is annoyed at how much we talked about Penn State.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. So, but if anyone wants to connect with you, if anybody wants to be learn how to engage with, kidding, better speaking. But no, if anyone wants to connect with you, like just personally, professionally, how can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on my Facebook, my Instagram, or you connect with me on LinkedIn.
And before we end, I feel like we'll just end on a little thing here. We are
Penn State.
If you want to see more On the Stacks content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/onthestackspodcast or search the hashtag On the Stacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.